was 2 hours worth managing to get 39.50. Hi everyone, Redneck Computer Geek here, and as you can see behind me, we've got some redneck science going on. Now, one thing that we've consistently been asked numerous times while we were racing this engine was, what does it actually make for RPMs? And at this point, as they say in racing, this engine don't owe me a damn thing. It has taken everything that I have thrown at it, and I think we should give it a little bit more. So today, we've got a Chinesium gasket sitting right there on the table. We're going to rip it down, we're going to see if we can remove the governor, and we're going to top it off with seeing whether we can port and polish that head just a little bit. But first, we need to find out what the baseline is on RPMs. So, off camera, or rather on camera slightly, I've cleaned up this engine, and then after cleaning it up, I went in and I installed an RPM sensor on it, and now we're going to find out what our baseline is. There we go. So before I end up throwing anything else on the ground and destroying anything else across here or wrapping something around that, I don't know if you guys could hear me, but we held at basically 33 to 3400 RPM, so 3400. And now I say we rip it apart, and I say we see if it has a governor gear and whether we can do anything else with it.
Alright, first of all, this is not a tutorial. This is a redneck with two 17mm wrenches taking off a diesel line coming from the pump to the injector, and I'm just ripping this down in order to be able to get this head off so that we can see if we can port and polish it, along with break open the governor. I've done a bunch with this, and we're just gonna watch this while I tear it apart. It takes about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes without interruption to break this thing down as far as I did. When we speed it up in high speed, it makes it about 4 minutes. I ended up having to double nut these intake nuts. They're 10mm and the shaft ends up coming undone. Now the next thing you're going to see here is I'm going to take the rockers off. It's 2 bolts down through the rockers, and there is a key in the bottom of it to make sure that it's in correctly and going the right way. I'm eyeballing the rods that came out of the rockers because for some reason they were 2 different lengths. One is about 1/8 of an inch longer than the other. Now I'm going to walk off and go find a bigger UGA, because that 17mm in that head just did not want to come loose. So 1,000 pounds of UGA later, and we've got our head off.
Well guys, as I would expect, utterly tarnished up with all kinds of soot and everything. As you can see, that oil and everything, this thing's going to go right straight directly into the ultrasonic cleaner. That right there, you can see the copper gasket that we're going to have to pull out of there. So there's a weird little side gasket thing here that I don't see in my Chinesium kit, so I need to be careful of that. And then this should be the ring right here, as far as I can tell. It should be the crush ring. There it goes. So that, hopefully, is the same as that one, which it looks like it is. Now, there's little notches cut out on that. But yet, oh wait, yes I do. There's a notch there. And that notch must coincide with that right there. There we go. So that's why they have little notches in them. That makes more sense now. So there's that. I'm gonna have to clean up all of that. The entire inside of that is horrifically black. But yet it's smooth. It's totally perfectly smooth. There is an upper layer right in there that seems to have a little bit of something going on. I'm going to spray all of that down, see if I can clean it up somehow. If I rotate this, how flush with the top of that does it get? By the way, I didn't realize my flywheel was red. It's been black the entire time I've owned this thing. I thought it was factory black. There we go. That comes up really flush. Holy compression Batman. So if that's the case, and that is that flat, then yeah, that's some insane compression inside there. I couldn't help but get a kick out of this when I took this spring off. This thing is so massively overbuilt compared to what I'm used to working on. This is one of the stronger springs that you can run on an Intech for the valves, or for a 420 Predator or a Duramax or something like that. This is the spring that came off of there. They're the exact same spring almost. So if I push down on that, and then I push down on that, I would actually bet that that spring there is a slightly higher poundage than the racing spring that goes in the 420 Predators and the Duramax 440s. Well, we'll go stick that away. Maybe I'll see if the next upgraded version might fit in these on another build. But interesting thing to note. So if you ever get one of these that's dead, that spring might be an upgrade for your Intech or another engine. There we go. So we got our VEVOR big giant cleaner here. We got our super strength mean green from the dollar store. Have you noticed that we're keeping everything low budget? There is black, and then there is pure silt black. Like, that is just plain black sludge. All of it is black sludge, and you can see if I tip it up and I drop it down, like, it looks like paint on the side. Before I throw you guys in the tripod, somebody has some sort of sealant all the way around this. And the factory write-up on this doesn't say anything about sealant whatsoever to put this side cover on. So somebody's already cracked into this thing once. But let's keep going. Well, let's see if we can get the 8mm out of the side of this to check the onboard oil filter. Or at least that's what I'm assuming this should be. Some sort of filter. Although, whatever it is, has definitely not been removed in a while. Wow. Not gonna lie, I was worried I was gonna break something at that point. Oh yeah. That is definitely some kind of chunky looking oil filter. I don't think the oil pump has been doing much while I've been running this thing. That might explain why everything looks a little charred. So at the end of that, every single one of those was exactly the same size, so we don't have to worry there. I'm worried this is a oil pump behind this, that maybe I should take it apart But I don't see anything in the kit that corresponds to this. So I think I'm just going to leave this and pop it off for now. Maybe take it apart later. So I guess at this point we find a pry bar and a thumpy thing and see if it'll come loose. Oh, please do not pull that cam out with it. I don't want to have to go and figure out putting all those things back in. Come on. Don't come out with it. There we go. There. Alright, make sure you guys are at an angle you can see. The answer is, it does have a governor gear. So if that's the case, and this is anything like the Duramax that I ripped out a governor gear out of, this thing here is limiting us at least 500 to 1,000 RPMs. So we're going to rip that thing out and make it go bye-bye. Here we go. We got that cracked off of there. I don't like that this bearing that probably should be right about there is stuck on the end of there. But this pitch black setup in here is what's going on. It's interesting, this galley system here, yet it's open. Look, finger. So I don't know what that corresponds to over in this setup here. Maybe we'll figure that out in a little while. That is solid, whatever that is. Yeah, somebody put some sort of sealant all the way around it, so I'm definitely not the first person to be in this poor bugger. So there's our cam, there's our crank. This must be some sort of balancer of some sort, which has the gear in the back. I don't know if you guys can see it. Focus. Gear in the back for the balancer. That's interesting. So I wonder if you rotate this, if you can eventually see dots to line up on the balancer. And then in there, you can see the cam. There it goes. So I gotta make sure that I didn't accidentally drop one of those out, because this tried to come out with the unit. But we'll see. We're gonna borrow the girlfriend because she just got home from that thing called a real job that us YouTubers don't understand. Now, down here, on this cam, there's actually 3 lobes, and that's because the center one is the fuel pump for the injector, and the one to the far side is going to be the exhaust lobe, which we should see coming up and around right now. And then you can see the injector just moved. Right there is the lobe for the injector. Just like that. So that was pumping the injector pump. And then we can't really see the last lobe for the exhaust because the weight is in the way, but you can see it right there. There's the exhaust lobe lifting to open the exhaust. And there we are. You did really good there.
You're welcome.
I am really glad I thought that out a little bit, because remember how I said it looked like there was an oiler right there? That's exactly what that is. That shaft goes right through, and that is the oiler assembly in there. I'm gonna make sure that this doesn't matter, and then selectively, carefully slice off about 1/2 inch of it. That way I know that there's no way that this arm here, which is what controls the governor, that there's no way this can come back and hit it and call that good. Because if I destroy this, then I have no oil pump and there's no oil getting pumped into right there. And guaranteed at that point, something will go kablooey. Let us recap on where we are right now. Very glad that I didn't pull that off because the Chinesium kit did not have the right type of gasket. It does have a gasket that has these in the correct thing, but apparently there's a triangle version and there is a round cap version. And because mine has the sensor here, mine has a triangle version, so the kit I ordered will not work for that. So I'm glad that I looked into that. On the other side of this thing, I said earlier in the video I didn't know what this is. So this is an oil pickup that comes into here, comes through, gets filtered, comes up to here, the pump turns, the pump pushes it up here, and then it pressurizes into this bearing. So that's what this is. It's an oil pickup. Earlier I said I wasn't sure about whether these would match up or how. It turns out there's a 2 dot there with a single dot there once I got all the sludge cleaned off. On the other side of this balancer, you can see there's 2 dots there and 1 dot there for lineup also. So it's interesting to note that the two are flipped as far as which one has the 2 dot system. Something to note. I've got the gasket here. The gasket seems to be lining up perfectly fine from the Chinesium set. As far as Yanmar is concerned, there doesn't seem to be anything in the write-up that says I need to put anything on this. It should just crush, so I guess we're going to run it. There's a lot of Kawasaki's and Vanguards that run these as head gaskets. So if it works for a head gasket, which has a lot more pressure in it than this does, I don't see any reason it shouldn't work for the side cover also. Now, that was just as lovable as I expected it to be. So, what I had to do was tap it down first to get this bearing started in this piece right here, tapping about right here. And then, once that got down on, I had to rotate this shaft at the same time as nicely and gently tapping this to get this plastic gear on the other side of this to mesh with the cam up here. It was doable. It took me about 4 or 5 different tries because once I'd get this to mesh, it would pop that stupid bearing back out. But it's on. We're going to ooga it into place, smash that gasket, call it good, get on the head. There we go. John likes pulling stuff out of the parts washer to see how clean it is. So we have cycled this with just some mean green and some water for a little bit over an hour. We ended up finding the oil filter in the side of it and we threw that in partway through. And we're going to probably just go over it a little bit with some of this SQ non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner. I ordered this by the case off of Amazon. It is definitely the best quality brake cleaner, cheapest I have been able to find, and I have been through about 12 different low quality, Chinesium brands now. I'll post a link for this stuff. I swear by it at this point after trying so many. Anyways, pop that head out or pop out whatever you grab first and let's see what it looks like. I'll start up the water here so that we can rinse off the mean green. Well, that's the head. That looks a million times better. And what do you think, John? You think that ultrasonic cleaner is worth like 250 bucks?
Yes.
Yes. So, there we go. There's the first part of this. Okay, there should be 2 valves and the valve tops. Oh, that's the valve cover. So that might just be grit. Oh, yeah, it was just grit. Now, before anybody gives any issue to the ultrasonic cleaner, that is most likely because I got a phone call while I had the oven cleaner on it earlier. And most likely that's acid etching that happened from the oven cleaner. That is one of the problems with those. Also, there seems to be some sort of black ceramic coating on the inside of this. Whatever it is really slick. So don't go scrubbing at it and ruining it, thinking you're doing something you should. Okay, what do we got? We got a handful of, we got a valve, and we got a seat, we got a valve, and we got a top. There's another valve with a top. I mean, another valve spring with a top. There, that looks nice and pretty. So as you can see, those are silver. They're not black like the racing spring I compared to earlier. Throw that in there. Okay, that's the exhaust valve. Now we're going to take 5 seconds to run our fingers and our thumb around this in order to see if we can get any corrosion off of there. As you can see, it's all blacked out. But it looks as if that's all burnt in to the metal. So we'll clean it up a little bit more with a wire wheel. Being careful not to go and hit that edge and ruin that. We're going to lap these into the head anyway. So, John, we seem to still be missing... Are we missing a cap? No, we got both caps. What do we got? Oh, rockers. Didn't think of rockers. Now, I found a stray clip in the bottom of the engine as I was cleaning it out. What I'm betting is one side of this rocker is missing the clip. And it is. That one there is missing the clip. See, there it is. So that clip managed to migrate itself all the way down to the bottom of the engine. So I'm going to have to put a new one on there before I assemble that. But that looks nice. And I think that's it. 2 springs, 2 tops, 2 valves, 2 rockers, 1 head, and a valve cover. That should be good. Anything else in there? Any dead bodies? Okay. Well, to be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm winging this based on what I've seen other YouTubers do. So, we've got our valve spring compressor that we bought as a combined kit on Amazon with the valve suction-y cuppy tool thing, the valve grinding compound. We ordered up this WORKPRO, which had good ratings. And we ordered up a set of burr bits in order to go and rip into this thing. There's another term for those, can't think of it right now. I'm about halfway through right now, and I just wanted to show you guys the amount of aluminum shards, and they get everywhere. This is definitely a do it outside or do it in someplace that's easy to clean up. This is not a kitchen table job by any means. There are shards clear over there that the grinder is thrown everywhere. The other thing I wanted to point out is that I did exactly what I got warned about. I got it going too fast. It heated up and buggered with aluminum. There are several videos on doing this to predator heads where people warn about doing that. I did exactly what everybody warned about because I've never done this before, so we're making it up as we go. This tip here has definitely been the best for getting down into different areas. And this tip here for doing the outside edge like this has definitely worked out the best. But like I said, we're gonna keep going with this idea, and I'll give you guys a a final set of pictures when I get done. I still got to do the outside edge on that, but the inside edge is pretty well done as far as I'm gonna care. This is an experiment, so you can see the ridges there versus the ground down there. I might try and get a little bit further into there just to get rid of that last little clip, but we'll see. Well, wouldn't you know, quality job 3 strikes on the side that we actually need. But whatever. So we got some compound on there. We're going to push this to the edge of the table, drop these down in, and just lap the valves. It's really not a hard concept. You just drop it down, spin it a few times, pull it back up, check it to make sure that it's shiny all the way around, call it good. All set. Ported, polished, redneckishly quickly. Took me about an hour and a half or so to do everything. Now we've got to put the valves in and get them pressed in with our tool here. After that, I'm just going to throw the engine together. You guys saw me tear it apart earlier, so I'm not going to waste your time with that. A few quick before and after photos in order to close out this section. Now, I'm no expert, I just plain followed what YouTube tutorials told me to do in a real hasty sense, and cleaned them up as best I could, and all the sharp edges. Adding this little part for somebody else working on this in the future, this one here goes at a weird angle that direction, and this one here goes at a little bit of an angle this direction. You're not crazy. These do go in a little bit kitty-wampus like this, which probably explains this really weird roller bar thing that they have at the top of them. Alright, let's get a little more done. You want to stand back?
Recording.
Because we'll see what kind of giant cloud of smoke comes out of this thing.
Oh, goody.
Alright, so we should be primed up. I really have no idea what's going to happen at this point, but we're going to see if we can get it to start for the first time after port and polish. We got to give it a little bit of throttle and hit the starter.
Okay, so 36, got it.
Alright, up here. Alright, we're going to try one more. I'm going to see if it's the throttle restriction tappet that's over here, which is this little piece that's down in here. So when you pull up, you hit there, and that floats it. I already brought this out a few turns, but we're going to bring it all the way out. Whoops. Alright, if I hit $4,000, that's really the goal here, because that'll get us 800 more for about 2 hours worth of work. was 2 hours worth managing to get 39.50. I don't really think so, but I learned a lot about this. One of the things I really learned was that removing the governor only would have gained me 500, 600 RPM, considering this thing was sitting at 35 to 36 anyway. We only ended up gaining 600. We almost hit 4 grand. Well, it was a fun experiment. Thanks guys for following along. Tell me if you thought it was worth it.